House hacking is one of my favorite ways to get started in real estate investing. In fact, the very first house I bought was a house hack without even realizing that that's what I was doing. But in this video, we're gonna talk about brand new ways you can house hack that other people have never talked about. If you're new to my channel, my name's Ryan Pineda. I'm a real estate investor and entrepreneur here in Las Vegas. I've flipped hundreds of homes. I've bought hundreds of rentals. I also have multiple businesses doing millions a year in profit. If you want a free consultation on how those businesses can help you, go to ryanpineda.com. So I purchased my first house when I was 22 years old with my cousin. This was back in 2011. We bought it for $160,000. And at the time, we thought that it was a pretty good deal. Well, fast forward to today, that house is easily worth over $500,000. And it's unfortunate that I still don't own it. But nonetheless, when we bought it, we decided to get a mortgage on it. We got an FHA loan and it ended up being about $1,200 a month. Now that mortgage might seem high for $160,000, and that's because the interest rates back then were higher. Our interest rate on that loan was about 5%. And at the time, we actually thought 5% was really cheap compared to what interest rates were just a few years earlier. Fast forward to today, 5% is really high. But anyways, as a 22-year-old minor leaguer who was making $1,200 a month, $1,200 for a mortgage was actually still pretty expensive. So my cousin and I decided that we wanted to go and house hack without really even knowing it. So we started fixing up the home and we actually created an extra bedroom so that we could rent it out to our friends. All in all, between all the renovations of the house, we spent about $20,000. Now I didn't have $20,000 to spend, so what we actually did was got 0% interest credit cards and used those to fund the renovation. And if that sounds familiar, it's because I did the same exact thing just a few years later to flip my very first house. As you can see, I've never been scared to take out credit or debt in order to buy real estate or to fund a business and try to just take myself to the next level. But anyways, with this newly renovated house, we reached out to our friends and we said, hey, you know, we got 3 bedrooms now. Who wants to rent it? They're $400 a pop. We ended up renting out the 3 bedrooms pretty easily, and now we had $1,200 coming in a month from the house hack, which coincidentally covered our entire mortgage. So that just meant my cousin and I had to pay the utilities. And with splitting the utilities, each of us only had to pay about $200 a month to live in that house. So that was actually the start of my real estate investing career, even though it wasn't really an investment. We were just buying our primary house to live in. Now that was 10 years ago. Since then, house hacking has become something that is really common that I see on YouTube and TikTok and all these other platforms. And I do believe it is a fantastic way to get started with real estate investing. But there are multiple ways to do it that people don't think about that could be far more lucrative overall. So let's talk about the various ways that you could go about it. Obviously, you could do what we did and just rent out extra bedrooms. This is a really easy one if you've got a friend or a sibling or somebody that you trust that you are willing to rent a room to. I would not suggest putting your room on Craigslist and getting some random person to live with you, but to each their own. Another way to go about it is if you buy a duplex, triplex, or a fourplex. The reason people like going this route is because you can still get an owner-occupied FHA loan as long as you live in one of the units. So let's just say you get a fourplex and you go live in one of the units. Well, now you can go rent out the other 3, and those would easily cover the cost of your 1 unit if you do it right. There are pros and cons to this. It just kind of depends where you live. Here in Las Vegas, there is no place that I would want to live in for a fourplex. Most of the small multifamily in Vegas is in not so great areas. But I know many other places across the country where you can be in great areas with multifamily. So if you can get a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex in those areas, that is a great way to get started with house hacking. Another way people don't think about is converting the garage to living space. Now, I really like this one because it's a way to get a single family home and kind of make it a multifamily. If you can make the garage a studio and just give it a little mini kitchenette type area, add a bathroom in there, you can rent it out for quite a bit of money. I know today, if I wanted to rent out my garage and I made it really nice, I could probably go get $800 to $1,000 a month on it. The only thing I would say is if you are going to convert your garage, obviously make it look like living space and add an entrance from the exterior so that they don't ever have to use the interior to get into the home. Now I will say the other thing you could do with any of those options I just mentioned is utilize Airbnb for them. So Airbnb has a feature where you can rent out your bedroom on Airbnb and have someone come stay there. Personally, I would not do this. I don't want some random person staying in my house every week, but if you want the most cash flow, you'll probably make a lot more renting the bedroom on Airbnb than you would individually to somebody on a month-to-month basis. If you did Airbnb on the multifamily route with the duplex, triplex, or fourplex, that could work out really good because you know what the person is doing. You're right there. You can keep an eye on them. You could check them in. As long as you're willing to deal with the potential parties around you, Airbnb with those kind of properties would be really good. Also assuming that your state, your city, and that your HOA allows it. And if you could convert the garage to an Airbnb, I think that would probably give you the best ROI out of anything. So all in all, those are some great ways to house hack, and they're the most common ways that people get started. But that's not what this video is about. I want you to start thinking of creative ways to use your space to generate income. And the best way to house hack would be to convert your house to some kind of business or side hustle that other people can use. And I actually got this idea as I was talking with my friend Sean Cannell from Think Media. If you don't follow them, you definitely should. They are the go-to source on how to start a YouTube channel. They've actually been a huge help for me in growing my social media following, so I definitely recommend them and their products. But I had Sean come to my office and he was looking at buying homes here in Las Vegas. And as we started talking about ideas, we looked at the potential of these different properties and how he could use them for his business at Think Media. He was looking at a large property that had a guest house, it had a lot of parking, it had a huge garage, and it had all these cool amenities that could be used multiple different ways. And the initial thought was using the guest house for Airbnb, but then we thought about all these other cool things that could be done with the house. Because it has such a large driveway, why not allow Turo owners to park their cars there? At that house in particular, he could park about 10 different cars there and have people going in and out. The driveway is also pretty separated from the house, so it wouldn't really bother him too much. And I think for anybody who has a huge driveway or a big lot where cars can be stored, you need to start reaching out to Turo owners and offering your house to them. You can make some really easy money if you just allow them to use your house for their business. Another idea we had with his guest house was a studio. So with most YouTubers, they've got their studio in their house anyway. And a lot of them have it in a bedroom, maybe they have it in a garage, but nonetheless, they have a studio at the house. And for Sean, if he could create a studio in the guest house and have his team just go utilize it just like they would with any other business, it's a great resource because the studio is what makes them a lot of money. But maybe you're not somebody who films on camera and makes money doing that. Well, why can't you build a studio in your garage or your guest house and start having people rent it from you? You could make a recording studio for artists, you could make a YouTuber studio, you can make a podcast studio, you could even make a place to do photography and photo shoots. And the thing is, if you are gonna take content seriously for your business, then doing this already is super smart because you need it. But even if you just rent out the studio to other people, you can make a lot more money than if you were just to go rent out the bedroom as a normal rental. And the best part about doing it this way is you don't have a permanent person living with you. You can just have them go film content or do whatever they're gonna do during work hours. So I think converting living space or garage space or guest house space into some kind of studio is a great idea, especially as things start to evolve and social media and everything else gets even bigger. Another idea I had was, why not turn the garage or guest house into a co-work space? What if you were able to take a 2 or 3 car garage, go throw some desk in it, go make some nice workspace areas, make it just this cool vibe, and then rent out that space to people monthly? There is going to be a huge demand for this, especially as everyone starts to work remote. There are going to be people who do not want to work at home because it's too distracting. They've got kids, they've got dogs, they've got whatever. And they don't want to go to places like WeWork where it's really expensive. And they don't want to go to coffee shops because it's never the same thing every time. And so they need a permanent workspace. Why not provide that permanent workspace for them? I guarantee you could get people to pay $200-300 a month in order to have a spot reserved at a desk. And in a 2-car garage, how many desks can you fit in there? You could probably fit at least 10. 10 desks at $200-300 a piece, you're talking $2,000 to $3,000 with your garage. All you need is 10 people willing to do that. With remote working, you can find 10 people. Now, if you're really lazy and you don't want to build a co-work space, you could just utilize your garage for storage. I actually did this on an apartment I bought. It was a 2-bedroom condo, and it came with a 1-car detached garage. And the person I bought it from was already renting it to someone else in the community for $100 a month. And I had to honor their lease when I bought the condo, but it was a good idea. Why not just start selling your garage as storage? People pay hundreds of dollars every month to store their stuff at a storage facility, so if they could put in your garage for the same price or less and you just live closer to them, you're gonna have a lot of people who wanna do that. Now, obviously, this is gonna make you less than, say, renting it out as living space or co-work space, but it is gonna be easier on your end. And along the same lines of storage and just thinking about parking cars with Turo, you could do the same thing with RVs in your driveway. In fact, one of my agents is renting out his driveway to somebody who has an RV. People pay hundreds of dollars a month to park their RV at RV storage facilities. So if you let somebody park their RV in your lot for $100, $200 and you don't really care about it, it's easy money. So here's my point about all this. If you're gonna get into house hacking, don't think about it in the traditional way of just renting out a bedroom or renting out a unit. If you can build a business behind this workspace, you can make way more money, and it's not really gonna take that much more time or effort on your end. And most people have a garage that can be utilized in some kind of way that I just explained. So for many of you watching this, you don't even have to buy a new house or have to invade your privacy with giving up a bedroom. Just rent out your garage in one of these unique ways. And I'm sure there's a ton of stuff that I missed, so I'd love to hear in the comments below, what are some unique ways that you could start house hacking and making more income? And also, if you wanna learn to invest in real estate and start flipping houses and building your rental portfolio, go to futureflipper.com. We've got a ton of programs, we've got a ton of courses. I've got an event coming up in January that's gonna be awesome. You can go apply and talk to my team and they'll help you figure out what is best for you. So go to futureflipper.com. And once again, I appreciate you for watching this video. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.